Hey there, welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph and I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here with the live experience today on Saturday afternoon. This is an album I bought along with two other ones. I bought three live ones when I purchased that last set of stuff from Laser's Edge, and this one was the one I saved for the end because I had a feeling I would like it the most. And the other two albums were fantastic. The Judas Priest album, made in Japan, and the USA album by King Crimson. I liked both of them a lot. But this album turned out to be exactly what I thought it would be. It is fantastic. Blue Oyster Cult's ETI. I love this album. I really love this band. They've become kind of my darlings, along with Gentle Giant, of this. Since I started this this channel, these are the two bands that really kind of come to heart for me: Blue Oyster Cult and Gentle Giant. This album is fantastic. I love it. There's like 13 tracks on this, and they could have for me, normally when they get to about 10 or 12 tracks, I've kind of had enough of the album. I kind of like that to be the cutoff point. But they could have easily added 6-7 more tracks and I would not have been disappointed even slightly. Even the tracks they added, I do like quite a bit of them, but there's like 3 or 4 that I was hoping would be on here and they're not, but that's okay. I do have live bonus tracks on some of those albums of those songs that I really like a lot. So, anyways, for those of you who do not know, this was released in 1982. It's called ETI, or the Extra Terrestrial Intelligence, by Blue Oyster Cult, or BOC if you prefer to call them that. It has the original 5 guys plus the new drummer. I think this is around the time period where is it Al Bouchard? I can never remember which one of the Bouchards plays drum. I think it's Al, though. Just give me one second. So anyways, when you're looking at this album, it's of course on Columbia Records, but it comes with a nice little booklet that of course gives you all of the songs and the lyrics for all of the songs. Yeah, it's Al Bouchard. I don't know why I can never remember that. It should be an obvious thing. He's the other drummer. But Rick Downey is the main drummer on his. Al Bouchard only plays on Black Blade and Dominance and Submission. I think this was around the time where he kind of went off on his own to do his own thing, and Rick Downey replaced him. However, he is playing a couple tracks on this album, as well as guesting for Roadhouse Blues. The Doors song is Bobby Krieger, no doubt. Remember the original Doors guitar player? I think that was the only Doors guitar player. No tongue ties. So, anyways, pretty heavy album too. Actually, very raw. Lots of high energy on this album. It's got that real live feel to it. Now, whether it's live or not, I don't know. Half of these albums, you just don't know. But I think this one's legit. I think it's a legit album, and a legit live. You can hear a lot of the nuances. And I will have to say right up front, Buck Dharma is all over this album. He's a dominant presence on this album. His guitar playing, if you thought he was a good guitar player, this will give you pause to think of him as a great guitar player. I've always thought he was a great guitar player. Doesn't get the kind of kudos that some hard rock heavy metal band guitar players get a lot of attention for. He deserves it too. The guy is one of the best. Just a fantastic guitar player, and so tasteful too. Like, his guitar isn't the same kind of soloing on every song, which I like. And to be honest with you, I find that very common with Blue Oyster Cult. A lot of their albums don't sound anything alike. You get the black and white era, you get the albums that came out next, then you get the Fire of Unknown Origin album, which is a lot more kind of spacey, a little bit more kind of heavy, maybe a little more pop actually. Yeah. But anyways, they're all different sounding. Like there's never a couple that sound exactly the same. Lots of really solid music by this band. And so they play 13 tracks on here, a lot of really heavy stuff, great heavy riffing, great vocals. And like I said, Buck Dharma is all over this. He has so many solos on here that are so memorable, so good. And of course the song selection is pretty good too. There's a few that I wish they had have used, like I would have liked to have seen Astronomy on here, and some of the other songs from Secret Treaties, which I think is, personally I think it's probably going to end up being my favorite album by them. Kind of number 2 now, because it hasn't been around long enough to challenge Fire of Unknown Origin. And Fire of Unknown Origin had 39 years by itself. The only Blue Oyster Cult album that I owned up until about 2 years ago. Now I own like a half a dozen or more, and I'm always looking for the other ones, always. So anyways, starts out with Dominance and Submission. This is a great heavy guitar riff and solo here. Fantastic. This version is actually a bit heavier than the studio version, and a lot more raw as well. I didn't give a single song anything under a 6. Most of them were 7s and 8s. The dominant album. City of Flame, which I believe is on the first album, and because I haven't got to that album, it's still on the waiting list to go in there, but I think it's on the first album. But it's really good here, really heavy track. Sorry, I'm thinking about yeah, there is actually a live version of this on this is what I was trying to remember. There's a live version of that song on the Secret Treaties album as a bonus track. So I don't know if it's, I'll have to listen to it to see if it's the same one and they've just taken it off this and put it on there, or it's a different version altogether. Maybe somebody who's a bigger Blue Oyster Cult fan than me will be able to tell me that. Yeah, some real heavy soloing here. Just really good version of the song. Dr. Music, another one, pretty good. Piano's a little more dominant on this particular track, but it's a pretty good version of this song. The Red and the Black, faster than the studio version, I think. And lots of heavy and very high energy on this particular track. Then we start getting into the really good stuff now. Those first 4 tracks, all pretty good, but now we're getting into stuff I like a lot more. So, Joan Crawford, one of my favorite tracks off of Fire of Unknown Origin. The piano intro here is so damn good, just fantastic. This version has a lot more rawness to it and a lot more energy. It's a lot more energetic. Probably one of my 2 or 3 favorite tracks on this album. Love it. Burnin' For You, of course, is one of their big hits. Most people who don't know anything about Blue Oyster Cult will know this song. This is a little less polished, a little bit raw version of it. Guitar solo is really good on this track. And then they do the Roadhouse Blues, which is a Doors song. Bobby Krieger guesting on this. This is a pretty heavy version of this song, probably heavier than what the Doors did, but it's still really solid. I like actually their version of this song. I didn't really like their version of Born to Be Wild, which they did as a bonus track on Secret Treaties. I didn't really like that version too much, but this is solid, really solid. Yeah, a little bit heavier than the Doors version, I think. Then you got Black Blade, some heavy distortion and heavy. It's a heavy track with some real heavy distortion on it, more than anything else on the album. Yeah, they're showing off that kind of distortion part to their music as well, which they do. They tend to do a lot of different stuff. They don't tend to repeat themselves a lot. Then you got Hot Rails to Hell, This is a real catchy, heavy riff. I like this song. It's probably one of the weaker ones at the back half of the album, and I'm guessing that in its time period this would have been a side A, side B. This is probably a side B song. Godzilla, of course, we all know the story. It's a little bit funny. He kind of tells the story before, while the audience is listening, before they get into Godzilla, and then make it sound like he's coming on stage. It's the whole part that it's the whole acting out. I really like the heavy bass on this track a lot, and there's some. It's a really heavy track and kind of funny parts too, and fairly lengthy track too. So one of the longer tracks, and then we get to Veteran of the Psychic Wars. Just one of my favorite Blue Oyster Cult song. It's a little bit less mystic than it is on the studio album, not as polished, and they created a more of a mystic feel with it on that. This is just a little bit heavier. The bass and the guitar are both outstanding on this track. Exceptional, I think. Just nothing else can describe them. The guitar solo is lengthy here, and maybe I think this is probably his best guitar solo on this album. One of his best guitar solos on any album. So catchy and so it's lengthy, but so tastefully, and it's just like draws you right in. Such a good version. Then you got the final two tracks, ETI, heavy opening with that great riff that comes with this song and the solo part. I love the vocals here too, really good. And then of course another fantastic solo by Buck Dharma. Then we have the final song, of course. Everybody knows it. It's probably, even if you're not a Blue Oyster Cult fan, maybe you're just a casual radio fan, you got to know this song. It's probably their biggest hit. It's probably their most well-known song, and Don't Fear the Reaper. Just a classic guitar opening. The vocals are so catchy on this song. But if I had to give a favorite song on this album, I would probably go with Veteran of the Thousand Psychic Wars. By a nose over ETI because of the heavy guitar solo, like the lengthy, fantastic guitar solo on this song. So if you're a Blue Oyster Cult fan and you don't know this album, and I can't imagine that's the case, you got to listen to this album. And if you're not a Blue Oyster Cult fan, but you're starting to get into them, this is the live album that I like the best. I do like some of their live videos as well. And I like a lot of the live cuts that they put as bonus tracks on their studio albums. But this is just high energy, like crunching, and you can see why a lot of people had labeled them a heavy metal band, even though I don't really think they are. I think they're more of a hard rock band with some heavy metal elements. But this is one of their heavier albums, a really, really solid album. I love it. I think it's the best live album that we've done for Live Experience since I started back, and those other two were great too, but I think this one's the best one. It's my favorite of the three. It may not be the best one. I'm not trying to insult. King Crimson's USA album is fantastic. Of course, that Judas Priest album is considered a landmark album, but I think this for me is my favorite of the three. Anyways, so there you have it. So Blue Oyster Cult, ETI, Extra Terrestrial Intelligence, live, 13 tracks, really good stuff. I think it's well worth the price I paid, and I don't know what that was. I know I bought it from Laser's Edge. I think it was something that was might have been is either the $5 bin, or it was one that I saw that I had to have that was like in the 12 to 15 range, which would have turned out to be in the $25 range. But if I pay $25 for this, it's worth it. I think it's just going to immediately go to the top of the waiting list for my playlist. Definitely want to be listening to a lot of this, and I'm not really a live album person. I do have a few that I do like a lot, The ones I do like a lot, I tend to gravitate towards a lot. But like I said, I'm not a huge live album person. But this definitely is definitely up there amongst my better ones. So anyways, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. Next week we will be back to the psychedelic snack, and then 2 weeks from now we will be back with another live experience. I've got a couple of things in mind, but I'm not sure. I'm going to purchase some live albums in the next couple of hours from Laser's Edge, because I've been looking at some there. So I may go with one of them if it gets here before then, and I'm sure it will. It's because it's 2 weeks away till the next episode. Anyways, I hope you you had a good time watching this. If you did, please like and subscribe, and we'll be back, like I said, next week with the psychedelic snack, and in 2 weeks with the live experience. So have yourself a good evening and take care. Goodbye.